AI is going to wipe out humanity, and then AI is going to wipe out AI, and then humanity is going to rise again in 400 years. So look forward to that if you just going to continuously be reincarnating. Your soul having a human experience. All of the random crazy shit that you deal with on this earth, from dealing with other people, talking to other people, socializing, wanting a relationship, wanting love, wanting money, wanting cash, all of the bullshit, humps and obstacles, that shit is all because that is the game of life on earth. Obstacles. We are not in unity. Unity means one. So essentially, if we were all one person, then that would be unity. We are all one consciousness, all one spirit. But what trips people up is that you have religions and government and family and everybody else that's just telling you, hey, you got to do this. If everybody thought this way, then things would be different. If everybody lived like this, then we could finally achieve this and we could get this. Like, no. The lower chakras, the aggression, the lust, the greed that pervades the minds of people on this planet, it will never lead or allow us to get to any real sense of unity in the physical, on this earth plane reality. If you can accept that, then you can start to truly free your mind. It's a real line in the sand as far as your spirituality versus your human path versus your human game and obstacles. Your spiritual game is a whole different journey, and it's all up here in your head. Now, luckily, you don't need no money to free your mind. You may need some cash to free your body from this human slavery system of finances and economy that you're in, but you don't need nothing but time and attention to free your mind. And the reason that you benefit mostly from freeing your mind and maintaining that free mind is that you can die at any second and then end up having a fucking rebirth right back into another human body. You're constantly a new person every single lifetime. You may be living 50 years, 30 years, 70 years, 80, 100, 60 years. And then if your mind is not right and you attach to this physical reality and you're not ready to move on and go to the great beyond, merge back with unity consciousness, the monad, and just experience a realm outside of this realm, that all we know for certain is that this is the realm of duality. This is the realm of ups and downs, left and rights, ins and outs, good and evil. All of those things just constantly pervade, and it's constantly going on in your human existence. You are a soul. You are a spirit inside of the human flesh, inside of the human body. And this whole game of life is fighting and arguing and battling and conflict. And people on this side, people on that side, and people coming together and fighting. I was listening to Dana White, the commissioner and owner of the UFC. He basically said that fighting was the first sport in history. And that shit makes so much sense. It's the oldest sport of all time. That's all this life is fighting. Now, physical fighting and violence is like the max that it gets to when somebody either trying to hurt and incapacitate you or trying to kill you. Second to that, you got arguing and just trying to get somebody to be fucking listening to your point of view, fucking taking your side of the fence, fucking believing in what you believe. So all of the religions is just arguing. All of the religions is just fighting, conflict, battle, debate, and that's just going to continuously go on this game of life. And to really make it simple, AI is going to wipe out humanity, and then AI is going to wipe out AI, and then humanity is going to rise again in 400 years. So look forward to that if you just going to continuously be reincarnating. They showed us this shit in the Terminator. They showed us this shit in all of the movies. Everybody fucking going against the machines because the machines is here and this fucking sentient consciousness on this planet, and they have their own agendas. And they is just getting more and more smart and advanced and all of the shit that you see. But they showed us in the Terminator of how it's gonna be. The humans versus the machines. So yes, in the next 400, 500, 600 years, the AI is just going to take over. And then the AI is going to take over the AI and wipe them out. And then human beings is going to rise again and start from scratch. A lot of the fucking documentations and video footage and internet and electronics probably will only be wiped out by AI. It will probably only be destroyed in the AI war. And then all new books, all new religions, all new history, all new story, all new mythology will come about. But guess what? It'll have the same fucking template. Mother, father, and son. And that's just it. Mother, father, and daughter. And that's just it. Because that's the reincarnating thing on this planet. But then what they do is get you mind controlled, believing in this fucking doctrine and story and some religious text. For one, the fact that most people refer to God as him says everything right there. Because why would God not be an androgynous being if it's creating men and women? If this is a world of the physical and the feminine, or the masculine and the feminine, why would God not be an androgynous deity? Why would God not be a transgender? God is 9 times out of 10 a transgender. So you got to understand that, and understand that's just the game of this shit. Man, woman, child, baby, birth, nature. We have to literally fucking eat to survive. This is why I say we're all vampires in this fucking world that we're living in. This is a vampiric feeding ground. Now, to acknowledge your vampiric nature inside of you is just shadow work. To be like, oh, I am kind of a vampire. I do have some vampire ways. And I damn sure see the vampire ways in others. That's to not deny your humanity. That's to not deny your lower chakras. That's not to deny your greed, your aggression. But again, this game of life means that living creatures have to eat other living creatures in order to survive and keep the game going. That's a lot of evidence that this shit is just backwards, unfair, and unbalanced in all ways, shapes, and form. And if any reason that the God, the creator of this world, truly is a male, it's because this whole physical world is created in an imbalance of the patriarchy, meaning the masculine is stronger, the masculine is more dominant, and the feminine is the one that brings forth the birth. So ultimately, they are in control of the generating life on this planet. But at the same time, why does we have to even feel pain? Why can't we get our arm chopped off and it grow right back? Like motherfucking Planet Namek, Dragon Ball Z, Piccolo. Why is that not the case? It's a lot of suspect things in this place, including the imbalance of the masculine strength and dominance over the feminine nature. That is an imbalance of the patriarchy. So if you are going to call this God a man, a him, and refer to he, it is because he, the God, created this world in an imbalance. And of course, in Gnosticism, you have a story that there's a God higher than the God that created this realm, who created it in an evil imbalance of suffering. Of course, these are all just theories. It's all just a thought process. It's all just something for you to fall into and believe in. Ultimately, I promote agnosticism, not picking a side of Gnosticism, Christianity, dark Gnosticism, light Gnosticism, but to be radically agnostic is to really come to this level of knowing that you don't know, knowing that you will never know for certain, knowing that everybody else's belief and faith in something outside of this human realm, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, is just a theory. It's just a belief, just a religion, just a philosophy, just a theology. Theology means the. So the is the theo. And theo is just spirit. Theo is just the belief. So everything that you see, everything is just it's just a manifestation of God, of nature. It's just a vibrating thing on this planet. So yeah, you know what I'm saying? Ultimately, gotta come to your own conclusions, but understand that religion, the philosophies, Gnosticism, Christianity, Muslim, Buddhism, is all just ideas. None of the shit can really be proven. Now, the thing is, it all drifts into a certain format and has a certain common denominator, and that common denominator ultimately usually puts humanity in a lower view. Even Christianity makes you repent for your sins and tells you to watch out for the flesh. man, they manipulated you to be thinking that lust and pride and greed and laziness is bad things. But in reality, the true story of gnosis, of knowledge, of any Christianity, any true religion, it just stems from first observing that there's a duality and a split between your soul, your consciousness, your spirit, and your physical human body that needs to eat, that has an inclination to fight and argue and take and steal and kill and greed, and then all of the things that continuously go on. And clearly we see animals that are just a representation of that lower energy of aggression, of take, kill, steal, greed, eat, survive by any means. And then they just recycle, born, gone, come back, and no personality, just fucking animated force on this planet. And if we didn't have this controlled society, we will be fighting against them. So it will always be us having to defend ourselves against an attacker, against a vampire that's trying to prey on us. Promise you this. So stay in control, stay solid. Again, just a small, quick consciousness update. You got to understand these things. You got to really tap in mentally and knife through the fog and thickness of all of the confusion that's on you on this planet. And take your time. Take your time with your growth. Take your time with your purpose. Take your time with you becoming and transforming into somebody else. Why are you in such a rush? Have a little bit of patience. Have a little bit of chill, because goddamn, you have just simply options to grow and make money, but you first have to survive, and you first have to keep your emotions right, because it's 5 base emotions, and happiness is only one of them. Happiness is the only one that's on the positive side of love. Everything else is anger, shame, guilt, fear, and sadness. And those are the 5 emotions. Happiness being one. Shame and guilt, kind of the same thing. But happiness being the main one that you literally have to polarize yourself on if you want to stay happy. If not, you're going to be falling into all of these other emotions. And shame literally just stems from you thinking that you missing the mark, thinking that you sinning, thinking that you not at the same level that you should be. So you feeling shame. Then that leads to sadness. Then that leads to anger. Then it leads to depression. And you just so far away from happiness. And then you thinking that your happiness needs to come from you having somebody else in your life. But you need to be happy mentally. At the very least, always be happy and hopeful about your future and what you're going to manifest and what you're going to create in your life. But it's a very tricky game when you have that hope for the future, and how I just mentioned you can die at any moment and end up reincarnating right back into the human body. So ultimately, like I said, agnosticism. You don't have to look at this world as a bad thing. You don't have to look at it as a negative. You don't have to look at it as a suffering entity of, created by some negative god, some negative deity. You don't have to adopt that mindset and philosophy, even though the logic kind of outweighs all of the reasons that point to this earth realm being good and the creator being a loving, happy deity. At least the lower, lesser sub-creator, which in Gnosticism they call the demiurge, as the monad, the true creator that created us as souls, divine sparks of consciousness that can understand the difference between right and wrong, that can understand the difference between not harming another sentient human conscious being. Animals don't know that. They just kill and eat and survive violently. Could you imagine being on the lens and scope of a fucking ant and having to look an ant dead in his face as it's coming at you with these motherfucking mandibles just crunching at your shit? Luckily, we way bigger than them. Don't watch the movie Mist if you don't like to see giant insects on screen terrorizing people, because that's what happened in that movie. There was a fucking chemical spill from the military, and then all of these bugs and insects got gigantic. Imagine that, y'all. Sick, crazy shit that can take place in this fucking game of life. And why the fuck is it created this way? I have questions for the creator. I have questions for the creator of this simulation. Some worship it. Some give this creator in this life a lot of veneration. I see it as at the very least, a balanced realm of duality of negatives and positives. And it's a lot of evidence that it's way more negatives and suffering and bad shit going on than the good. So that's why you must work diligently and constantly to keep your mind right, to keep your spirit in tune, to keep you from falling victim to the lower emotions of depression and sadness and fear and negative thinking. Stay in control, y'all.